Young Apache pleads, "Don't shoot me. I will give birth to your child." What does the cowboy choose? The sun was beginning to sink behind the distant hills, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The air was cool, and the gentle wind carried the scent of dry grass and the faint smoke of distant campfires. In the midst of this vast wilderness, a young Apache woman moved carefully through the tall grass, her heart beating fast. She was alone, and every sound made her flinch. The world she knew, her village, her family, and the safety of her people, felt far away. She had ventured into unknown territory, unsure of what she would find or who she might encounter. Her name was Nayeli. She was just barely out of her teenage years, with dark hair that fell past her shoulders and eyes that shone with intelligence and courage. But courage alone could not erase the fear that pressed against her chest. She had heard stories of cowboys who roamed the land, men who could be dangerous, quick to anger, and unpredictable. Yet she also knew that running blindly into the wilderness would be even more dangerous. She had to find a way to survive, and if fate had led her here, she would meet it head-on. As she moved, her eyes caught sight of movement in the distance. A man appeared on horseback, his figure strong and upright, riding with the steady confidence of someone who knew the land. He was a cowboy, she realized, and her stomach tightened with fear. She had seen cowboys before, but always from afar. Up close, they seemed even larger, more imposing, and capable of anything. She knew she had to act carefully. Nayeli took a deep breath and stepped into a small clearing. The cowboy noticed her immediately, and his horse stopped with a soft whinny. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. The wind rustled the trees, birds flew away in small flocks, and both of them simply stared at each other. She could see the tension in his posture, the way his hand hovered near the strap of his rifle, not drawn yet, but ready. "Don't shoot," she said, her voice trembling but firm. Her words cut through the quiet like a fragile bridge between them. "I don't want any trouble, please just hear me." The cowboy tilted his head slightly, studying her. There was a flicker of curiosity in his eyes, perhaps mixed with caution. "Why shouldn't I?" he asked, his voice calm but carrying authority. He did not lower his hand yet, but he did not advance either. Nayeli swallowed hard and stepped forward, her hands raised slightly to show she meant no harm. I can give you something," she said slowly, as if measuring every word. "Something no one else can. I can give you a child, your own child." Her words hung in the air, strange and daring, filled with a mixture of fear and hope. The cowboy's eyes widened slightly, but he did not move. Nayeli could see him thinking, weighing her words carefully. She did not know if he understood what she meant, but she hoped he did. She knew she had to try something, anything to survive. Her life, fragile as it was at that moment, depended on it. "You are young," the cowboy finally said, his voice softer now, as if he was lowering a wall he had built around himself. "And you speak boldly. Why would I believe you?" Nayeli's heart pounded, but she did not falter. "Because I have nothing to gain by lying," she replied. "I am alone. I have no one to protect me, and I am willing to risk everything for a chance to survive. Please just hear me out." For a moment, the cowboy did not respond. He studied her face, her eyes, the set of her shoulders. He could see the fear, the honesty, and the determination there. It was rare to see someone speak with such courage, especially in such a desperate situation. He had encountered many people in his travels, but few had dared to meet his gaze without flinching. Nayeli took another careful step forward, keeping her voice calm despite the fear bubbling inside her. "I know the land," she said. "I know how to move quietly, how to find food and water. I know how to survive, even in the wild. And I can help you too if you choose to let me. But I need your help to stay alive." The cowboy's eyes softened slightly, and he lowered his hand just a fraction. "You speak like someone who has seen much hardship," he said. "You are not like the others I have met." "I am not," Nayeli replied, her voice firm. "I am different because I have to be. My people taught me to be strong, to survive, and to protect myself. But even the strongest person cannot face everything alone. I need someone I can trust, even if it is just for a little while." There was a long silence. The cowboy shifted slightly on his horse, as if trying to decide what to do next. He could sense her sincerity, but he also knew the dangers of trusting a stranger, no matter how earnest their words seemed. The wilderness was unforgiving, and mistakes could cost a life. Still, something about Nayeli made him pause. Perhaps it was the bravery in her voice, or the honesty in her eyes. Perhaps it was the way she had spoken without flinching, even while facing a man who could easily end her life. "I have a choice to make," he finally said aloud, more to himself than to her. "And it is not an easy one." Nayeli nodded slightly, her eyes never leaving his. "I understand," she said softly, "but please do not make the wrong choice. I am asking for life, not just for me, but for what could come from this, for what could be good if given a chance." The cowboy remained silent for a long while, thinking. He remembered the people he had met on the trails, the struggles he had seen, and the lives he had encountered that had been changed in an instant. He understood the weight of a decision like this. One choice could alter the course of their lives forever. Finally, he spoke. "I will listen," he said, his voice steady. "I will hear your story, but know this, I do not promise anything else. Not yet. You will have to earn my trust, and I will have to see that your intentions are true." Relief washed over Nayeli in a quiet, steady wave. She had survived the first step. She had managed to pause the danger, to make a connection with someone who had the power to end her life. And more importantly, she had opened a door to hope. Hope that she might live. Hope that she might find a way forward. "I will," she said firmly. "I will tell you everything, and I will do whatever I can to show you that I mean no harm." The cowboy nodded, and for the first time he dismounted from his horse. He was cautious, keeping a hand near the reins, but he did not brandish any weapon. Nayeli watched him closely, noticing the care in his movements. He was a man shaped by the land, by hardships and choices, by a life that had taught him to measure every step. They moved together slowly toward a shaded area under a group of tall oak trees. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled patterns on the ground. It was a small moment of peace in a world filled with uncertainty. Nayeli settled herself on a fallen log, taking care to appear calm, while the cowboy leaned against a tree, still wary but willing to hear what she had to say. "I will start from the beginning," Nayeli said. "Not just because it matters to me, but because it might matter to you as well. My life, my people, my choices, they are all connected, and you should know everything if you are to decide what to do next." And so, as the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in deepening colors, the young Apache woman began to tell her story. She spoke of her family, of the land she loved, of the struggles her people faced, and of the courage she had learned from them. She spoke honestly, without exaggeration or fear, and the cowboy listened, not as a man ready to fight, but as a man trying to understand. For the first time that day, both of them felt a small sense of connection, a fragile human bond in a vast and often harsh world. It was the beginning of a story neither could have predicted, a story of trust, courage, and choices that would shape their lives in ways neither of them could yet imagine. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it a sense of quiet promise. Nayeli felt it, and even the cowboy seemed to notice. They were strangers from different worlds, yet here they were, meeting, speaking, and taking the first careful steps toward an uncertain future. And in that moment, the wilderness around them felt just a little less threatening, and life itself seemed full of possibility. The sun had almost disappeared behind the distant hills, leaving only a faint orange glow on the horizon. Shadows stretched long across the ground, and the air grew cooler. The young Apache woman, Nayeli, took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. She had survived the first moments of fear, and now she needed to speak, to explain herself fully, so that the cowboy might see the truth in her words. The cowboy, still leaning against the tree, studied her quietly. His horse grazed nearby, calm but alert, sensing the tension in the air. There was something about Nayeli's presence, something that made him pause, that made him want to hear more before acting. He was not a man who often took risks with strangers, yet here he was, listening to a young woman who could have been just another traveler in danger. But Nayeli was different. He could feel it in the way she carried herself, in the honesty shining in her eyes. "I should tell you why I ran," Nayeli began, her voice soft but steady. "Why I left my village and came into the unknown." She paused, gathering her thoughts, and then continued. "My family, they are important to me. My people are important. But the world around us is changing, and sometimes staying in one place is not safe. I wanted to protect myself, and I wanted to protect them, even from afar. That is why I came here." The cowboy listened without interruption, his expression unreadable. Yet his eyes followed her every movement, watching her gestures, the way she spoke with courage despite fear. He noticed her honesty. She did not try to impress him, nor did she exaggerate her story. She simply spoke her truth, and in that, he found a kind of strength he respected. "I have learned much from my people," Nayeli continued. "We learn to read the land, to find water and food even in places others cannot. We know which plants are safe, which animals to watch, and how to move quietly so that danger does not find us. I can help you if you let me, because I know the land too, and I know how to survive in it." The cowboy shifted slightly, letting a little more of his guard down. He had lived on this land for years, seen many travelers and faced many dangers. He knew the wilderness, yes, but it was rare to meet someone who could navigate it with the kind of skill and understanding that Nayeli displayed. He was intrigued, and yet still cautious. "Why offer all this to me?" he asked finally. "Why risk yourself for a stranger?" Nayeli's eyes met his, steady and clear. "Because I have no other choice," she said honestly, "and because I believe that sometimes even strangers can help each other. I am not asking for friendship, not yet. I am asking for life. I am asking for a chance to survive and to show that I can be trusted. If you give me that, then perhaps we can both find something we need: safety, understanding, or even hope." The cowboy did not respond immediately. He looked out over the horizon, thinking, weighing her words. He had met many people in his life, some trustworthy, some not. Some honest, some deceitful. Yet Nayeli did not seem like anyone he had ever met before. There was a quiet courage in her, a determination that came not from arrogance but from necessity. She spoke with clarity, and her words carried the weight of truth. "I have seen fear," the cowboy said after a long pause, his voice low. "I have seen people lie to survive, and I have seen people die because they could not be honest. I do not know if you are different, but I will listen. I will give you a chance to speak." Relief softened Nayeli's features. She felt a small sense of hope, but she did not let herself relax too much. She knew trust was fragile, and that one wrong word or gesture could undo everything she had accomplished. She took a deep breath and began her story in more detail. "My village is far from here," she said. "It is hidden in the hills, surrounded by rivers and forests. My family lives there, and we are few in number. Life is simple, but it is not easy. Sometimes other groups come to our land, not always with good intentions. Sometimes sickness comes or food is scarce. I learned early that survival depends on courage, intelligence, and quick thinking. That is why I left. I hope to find a way to live safely, even if it meant leaving home." The cowboy nodded slowly. He understood the realities she described. Life in these lands was harsh, and those who could not adapt often did not survive. Her words were not just about survival, they were about intelligence, courage, and foresight. He respected that, though he did not show it fully. "And what about your people?" he asked. "Do they know you are gone?" Nayeli's face darkened for a moment. "No," she admitted. "They would worry and they would try to find me, but I had to go alone. It was the only way. I could not risk putting them in danger." I thought I could find a safe path first and then return to help them if I could. That is why I am here." The cowboy listened, feeling a strange mixture of admiration and concern. She had risked everything to survive, and yet she did so thoughtfully, carefully. He could see her intelligence, her strength, and her resilience. It was rare to meet someone who had faced danger so bravely, and even rarer to meet someone who could express it with honesty and clarity. "You speak wisely for someone so young," he said finally. "Most people your age, they act without thinking or they trust too easily. You are cautious and yet brave. That is a rare combination." Naomi's lips curved in a small, grateful smile. "I have learned that mistakes can cost more than just pride," she said softly. "They can cost life itself. I have seen others suffer because they did not prepare, did not think, or did not listen. I want to survive, yes, but I also want to do it in a way that is honest, that respects life, and that keeps me true to who I am." The cowboy nodded, thinking about the countless times he had seen others fail because they lacked foresight or courage. He had lived a life of hard choices, and he recognized in her a kindred spirit, even if their worlds were different. "Very well," he said after a pause. "You have told me your story, and I can see that your words are true. I can see that you are honest. That is more than many can say, but trust is not given lightly. You will have to show me that you can keep your word, that you can be careful, and that you understand the dangers we face out here." Naomi nodded solemnly. "I will," she promised. "I will do whatever I can to prove that I can be trusted. I do not ask for friendship or for more than the chance to survive. That is all I ask." The cowboy looked at her, noticing the firmness in her eyes, the steadiness of her voice, and the strength in her posture. He could see that she was not merely pleading for her life. She was showing him that she was capable, thoughtful, and strong. It was a quality he had seen in few people, and it made him reconsider what he had first thought of her. "Then we will move carefully," he said finally. "We will see if we can survive out here together. Not as strangers, not as enemies, but as two people trying to find safety in a world that does not make it easy. You will have to listen, and I will have to guide. But if you can do that, then perhaps we can both find something we need." Naomi's relief was quiet but deep. She felt a small spark of hope, one that warmed her from the inside. She had faced fear, faced uncertainty, and yet she had survived the first step. Now she had a chance to continue, to prove herself, and to find a path forward. The cowboy dismounted fully, offering his hand to help her steady herself as she stood. The gesture was simple, but it carried weight. It was the first sign of trust, a small bridge between two very different worlds. Naomi took his hand carefully, feeling the strength and steadiness in his grip. Together they began moving slowly through the trees, keeping to the shadows, listening to the sounds of the wilderness around them. Naomi pointed out small signs of water nearby, hidden patches where berries grew, and safe places to rest. The cowboy watched her closely, impressed by her knowledge and skill. He realized that having her by his side would not only be helpful, it might be essential. As the night grew darker, they found a small clearing where they could rest safely for the night. The cowboy built a small fire, careful not to make it too large, while Naomi collected dry leaves and twigs to keep it going. They shared a simple meal, the warmth of the fire and the quiet of the night allowing them a rare moment of peace. In that quiet under the stars, Naomi felt a sense of connection growing. Not friendship, not yet, but understanding. The cowboy, too, seemed to recognize it. Two strangers from different worlds, both shaped by experience, both learning to trust in a place where trust was rare. The night stretched on, filled with soft sounds of the wilderness. Naomi sat quietly, thinking about her family, her village, and the path that had led her here. She did not know what the future would bring, but she knew she had survived the first test. And she knew that somehow this cowboy, this man who had the power to decide her fate, had chosen to listen, to see her as more than just a stranger. And that, she realized, was the beginning of something that might change both of their lives forever. The first light of dawn stretched across the horizon, turning the sky into soft shades of pink and gold. The night had passed quietly, with only the gentle rustle of leaves and the occasional bird call breaking the silence. Naomi awoke slowly, feeling the cool morning air on her skin, and realized that for the first time in many days she felt safe, though she knew this safety was fragile. The cowboy was already awake, checking their small fire and surveying the surrounding land. His eyes were calm yet sharp, always alert to any sign of danger. Naomi watched him for a moment, noticing the way he moved, careful yet confident. She realized that despite the fear she had felt when first meeting him, there was also a kind of strength in this man, a quiet strength that came not just from physical skill, but from experience and patience. He had lived through many challenges and survived, and now she had the chance to learn from him. "You slept well?" he asked, his voice low but steady. Naomi nodded. "Yes," she replied softly, "better than I have in many nights. The fire helped, and being near someone I can trust makes a difference." The cowboy's gaze softened slightly, though he did not smile. "Trust is earned slowly," he said, "and even then it can be fragile, but I see you trying, and that matters." She nodded again, feeling a sense of respect for him growing within her. He did not give empty words of comfort, he spoke truthfully, and in this world honesty was rare and valuable. She felt grateful that, despite the fear and danger, they had reached this point. They packed their few belongings carefully, moving quietly through the trees so as not to draw attention. Naomi pointed out signs of nearby water, safe paths through the uneven terrain, and small areas where food could be gathered. The cowboy observed her closely, noting her knowledge and precision. He realized that she had not only survived on her own but had thrived in ways few could manage. Her skills were impressive, and her mind was sharp. As they walked, Naomi decided to speak more openly about her past, sensing that honesty would continue to strengthen the fragile trust between them. "I have had to make difficult choices before," she said, her voice quiet but steady. "Sometimes I have chosen to leave behind people I love, because staying would have put them in danger. I know it is not easy to understand, but I hope that as you hear my story, you will see why I do the things I do." The cowboy listened attentively. He had seen people in desperate situations before, people who had been forced to make impossible choices. Yet there was something in Naomi's voice that suggested not just survival, but thoughtfulness and reflection. She did not act recklessly, nor did she seek to blame others for her circumstances. She spoke with maturity beyond her years. "You have carried much," he said at last, "more than most people could bear. I can see it in your eyes, but you are strong and you are careful. That combination, it is rare, and it can mean the difference between life and death out here." Naomi felt a quiet sense of pride mixed with humility. She had survived through courage, intelligence, and careful observation of the world around her. Yet she also understood that life was unpredictable, and even the strongest could fall if they were not cautious. She hoped that by sharing her story, she could show the cowboy that she was not a liability, but someone who could contribute to their shared survival. As the morning progressed, the cowboy began to speak of his own past. Naomi listened closely, sensing that this was unusual for him. He was not a man who often revealed his inner thoughts, yet here he was, speaking of choices he had made, mistakes he had learned from, and lessons he had gained from a life spent in the wilderness. "I have faced situations where I had to make decisions quickly," he said, his voice steady but carrying the weight of experience. "Sometimes those decisions saved lives and sometimes they didn't. I have learned that thinking carefully, observing the world around you, and being honest with yourself can make all the difference." Naomi nodded. She understood the weight of his words. "I have learned the same," she said softly. "Even small mistakes can lead to serious consequences. That is why I try to be aware, to think carefully, and to act with intention. I do not want to be reckless, nor do I want to be blind to the dangers around me." The cowboy glanced at her, a flicker of respect in his eyes. He realized that, despite their differences in background, they shared some of the same principles. Survival, careful observation, and thoughtfulness were important to both of them. It was rare to find someone so young who could speak with such clarity and understanding. After a while, they came to a small stream, where the water flowed gently over smooth rocks. Nayeli knelt down to fill a container, while the cowboy watched, noting her careful movements and attention to detail. She handed him the container and he drank slowly, appreciating both the water and the small gesture of cooperation. "This land can be unforgiving," the cowboy said quietly, "but you have a skill that can help both of us. I will admit, I did not expect to meet someone like you out here, but now that I have, I realize how much value there is in learning from each other." Nayeli smiled faintly, feeling a sense of connection growing between them. "I am willing to learn from you too," she said. "You know the land, the trails, and the dangers better than I do. If we work together, we can survive and perhaps even find safety in ways that would be impossible alone." The cowboy nodded. "Agreed, but there is more to this than survival," he said, his voice thoughtful. "There are choices to be made that go beyond food, water, and shelter. Choices about trust, about honesty, and about how we treat each other. Those choices, they can shape the future, not just for today, but for all the days to come." Nayeli listened carefully, understanding the weight of his words. She had already asked for his trust, and now she realized that trust came with responsibility. She had to show that she could be reliable, that she could contribute not only to their safety, but also to a partnership built on respect and understanding. They continued along the stream, moving carefully and quietly. Nayeli pointed out small edible plants, hidden pockets of berries, and safe paths where the ground was stable. The cowboy observed her every move, noting her keen eye and her careful steps. He realized that she had learned to survive not just through instinct, but through thought, observation, and respect for the land. As they walked, the conversation turned to the future. Nayeli spoke of her hopes, her desire to one day return to her people safely, and her wish to live in a world where survival did not require constant fear. The cowboy listened, offering thoughtful advice and reflections from his own experiences. Together they began to see a path forward, one that required careful choices, mutual respect, and cooperation. At one point, the cowboy paused and looked at Nayeli seriously. "There will be moments when you are tested," he said. "Times when fear, doubt, or uncertainty will challenge your decisions. You will have to rely on what you have learned, on your instincts, and on the knowledge that every choice matters. Do you understand?" Nayeli nodded firmly. "I understand," she replied, "and I am ready. I will do my best and I will trust in what I know, but I also know that I will need guidance and I am willing to learn from you as well." The cowboy studied her carefully, sensing her sincerity. "Good," he said finally. "That is the first step. Survival is not just about moving quietly or finding food. It is about understanding the consequences of your choices and acting with intention. If you can do that, then we may have a chance to succeed together." The rest of the morning passed with careful preparation and observation. They moved quietly through the trees, avoiding open areas where they might be seen, and stopping to gather small amounts of food and water. Nayeli continued to demonstrate her skills, and the cowboy continued to watch and teach, offering advice on how to navigate the land safely. By the time the sun reached its highest point, they had established a small routine, a balance of observation, movement, and learning from each other. Nayeli felt a growing sense of confidence, knowing that she had proven herself capable and reliable. The cowboy, too, felt a sense of cautious optimism, realizing that he had made the right choice in listening to her and allowing her to demonstrate her abilities. As they rested under a large oak tree for a short break, the cowboy spoke again. "We have made progress," he said. "But there will be challenges ahead. You will face decisions that are not easy, and you will have to think carefully about what is right, what is safe, and what is fair. Do you think you can handle that?" Naomi looked at him steadily. "I can," she said. "I have faced difficult choices before, and I have learned from them. I will face whatever comes next with care and thought, and I will act with honesty and respect." The cowboy nodded, feeling a quiet approval. "Then we are ready to move forward," he said, "together." And so, as the day continued, they walked on, side by side, navigating the land with care, learning from each other, and building a foundation of trust and cooperation. Each step, each choice, brought them closer not only to safety, but also to a deeper understanding of one another. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges and decisions yet to come. But for the first time, both Naomi and the cowboy felt that they were not facing it alone. They had each other, and in that connection lay the possibility of survival, understanding, and perhaps even hope for the future. The sun was beginning its slow descent toward the horizon, casting long shadows over the hills and trees. The air was warmer than the cool morning, but a gentle wind rustled through the leaves, carrying the scent of dry grass and earth. Naomi and the cowboy had traveled for hours through the wilderness, moving carefully, pausing often to observe the land, and sharing quiet conversation as they walked. The trust between them had grown, though it remained delicate, like a fragile thread connecting two very different worlds. The cowboy rode a short distance ahead, occasionally glancing back to ensure Naomi was following. He had learned over the years that the wilderness demanded attention, awareness, and thought. Every step, every decision could affect survival. But today, another kind of decision weighed on his mind, one that was more complex than choosing a safe path through the forest. It was a choice that involved morality, responsibility, and the uncertain future of someone else's life. Naomi walked beside him, her eyes alert, her senses tuned to the land. She had grown more confident in the hours they had spent together, and she felt a growing respect for the cowboy. She could see that he was not only strong and skilled but thoughtful and deliberate, a man who weighed his decisions carefully. And yet, despite the calm way he moved, she sensed a heaviness in his demeanor. There was something he was considering, something important that affected both of their lives. Finally, they stopped at the edge of a small clearing, where the sunlight streamed through the trees in golden beams. The cowboy dismounted and gestured for Naomi to do the same. They sat quietly on a fallen log, the sounds of the forest surrounding them. Birds chirped high above, and a nearby stream gurgled softly, yet the air between them carried a tension that neither could ignore. "You have shown courage and skill," the cowboy said, his voice measured. "You have proven that you can survive out here and that you can think clearly even when faced with danger. But there is another decision I must make, one that is not about survival alone. It is about the future, about trust, about the consequences of my actions." Naomi looked at him carefully. She could feel the weight of his words, and she understood that he was about to make a choice, one that would affect both of their lives profoundly. Her heart beat faster, but she kept her expression calm. She had learned that patience, clarity, and honesty were often the strongest tools in moments like this. "I understand," she said softly. "I know that what you decide will change things, and I do not expect it to be easy. I only ask that you consider the truth in what I have shared and the honesty in what I offer. That is all I can do." The cowboy nodded, appreciating her composure. He leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on his knees, and looked down at the ground as if searching for the right words. "I have seen many people make choices based on fear, anger, or desire for immediate gain," he said slowly. "And I have seen the consequences of those choices. I have learned that taking responsibility, even when it is difficult, is what defines a person." Naomi listened intently, sensing that this was more than a conversation. It was a moment of reckoning. She had hoped for this, the opportunity to demonstrate her trustworthiness and her courage, but she also knew that the decision would not be easy for him. The cowboy was a man of principle, someone who understood the weight of his actions, and she respected him for it. "You have offered me trust," he continued, his gaze meeting hers. "And you have asked for my protection, for a chance to survive. But that trust is not something I can give lightly. It comes with responsibility and with the knowledge that every choice carries consequences. If I choose to protect you, I must be prepared to ensure your safety and to face the challenges that come with that decision." Naomi nodded, feeling the truth in his words. "I understand," she said softly, "and I accept that. I do not expect anything beyond fairness and honesty. I only ask that you see me for who I am, and not for what others might say or think. I am willing to face the consequences of my own actions, and I ask for the chance to do so under your guidance." The cowboy's eyes softened as he regarded her. He could see her sincerity, her determination, and her willingness to accept responsibility. He could also see her vulnerability, the quiet fear that lay beneath her courage. It was a delicate balance, and he knew that the choice he made would affect not only the present but the future as well. "There is more to this than protection," he said finally. "There is the matter of trust between us, and the understanding that our actions will ripple beyond this moment. You have offered something unusual, something that carries weight and meaning, and I must decide whether to accept that and how to move forward with it responsibly." Naomi held her breath, understanding the gravity of his words. She had hoped that her honesty and courage would be enough to earn his trust, but she knew that the decision required careful thought. She did not rush him, nor did she plead further. She remained calm, letting him consider the path forward. The cowboy leaned back, looking up at the sky as the sun dipped lower. "I have made many choices in my life," he said quietly. "Some were easy, some were difficult. But the choices that matter most are those that affect the lives of others, and in this moment I am aware that my choice will shape the future for both of us." He paused, taking a deep breath, and then looked directly at Naomi. "I will choose to protect you. Not out of obligation and not out of fear, but because I see your courage, your honesty, and your skill. I see the strength in you, and I believe that together we can face the challenges ahead. But you must understand, this is not a simple path. It will require trust, patience, and careful thought from both of us." Naomi's eyes filled with relief, though she did not let her emotions overwhelm her. "I understand," she said softly, "and I am ready. I will do my part, and I will honor the trust you have shown me. I will not let you regret your decision." The cowboy nodded, feeling a sense of resolve. He had made his choice, but he also knew that the journey ahead would test both of them. He would have to guide, teach, and protect, while also allowing Naomi to demonstrate her strength and independence. It was a delicate balance, but he felt confident that they could manage it together. For the next several hours, they moved through the wilderness with renewed purpose. The cowboy taught Naomi how to read the signs of the land more carefully, how to anticipate changes in the weather, and how to move with both caution and efficiency. Naomi listened intently, absorbing every lesson and demonstrating her own skills in turn. She pointed out hidden sources of water, safe paths through difficult terrain, and subtle signs of wildlife that could indicate danger or opportunity. As they traveled, the bond between them grew stronger. They were no longer simply a young woman seeking protection and a cowboy considering a decision. They were partners in survival, learning from one another, and building a foundation of trust that would support them in the days to come. At one point, they came to a small hill overlooking a wide valley. The view was breathtaking, with the golden light of the setting sun reflecting off the trees and streams below. The cowboy paused, taking in the scenery, and Naomi stood beside him, feeling a sense of awe at the beauty of the land. "This place is remarkable," Naomi said softly. "It is both beautiful and dangerous. It reminds me why survival is not just about skill, but about respect for the land and for each other. The cowboy nodded. Exactly, he said. Survival is more than finding food or water. It is about understanding the world around us, making wise decisions, and recognizing the value of trust and cooperation. You have shown me that you understand that, and I respect it. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they set up a small camp for the night. The cowboy built a careful fire, and Naomi gathered dry leaves and twigs to keep it burning. They shared a simple meal, and the quiet of the wilderness surrounded them. For a moment there was peace, a sense that, despite the challenges ahead, they had made the right decision and found a way to move forward together. Before sleeping, the cowboy spoke once more. "Tomorrow will bring new challenges," he said, "but we will face them as partners. We will trust each other, rely on our skills, and make careful choices. That is the only way to survive and to ensure that we honor the decision we have made today." Naomi nodded, feeling a quiet sense of determination. "I will do my best," she said. "And I will honor the trust you have given me. Together, we will face whatever comes next." As night fell and the stars appeared in the sky, both of them felt a sense of cautious optimism. They knew that challenges lay ahead, and that the decisions they made would shape not only their own lives, but the lives of others they might encounter along the way. But for the first time, both Naomi and the cowboy felt that they were not alone in facing those challenges. They had each other, and that connection, fragile though it was, provided hope, strength, and the courage to continue. And so, with the fire casting a warm glow over their small camp, they settled for the night. The world around them was quiet, yet full of promise. The choice had been made, and now the consequences would begin to unfold. In the stillness of the wilderness, both of them understood that the journey ahead would test their courage, their wisdom, and their ability to trust. But they also knew that, having made this critical choice, they were ready to face it together. The morning sun rose slowly over the horizon, casting a warm golden light across the hills and valleys. The wilderness around Naomi and the cowboy seemed calmer than the day before, but both of them knew that peace in such a world was fragile. The night had been quiet, yet full of reflection. They had faced difficult choices together, built a bond of trust, and learned that survival was not just about skill but also about understanding, patience, and connection. Naomi awoke first, feeling a quiet sense of hope and purpose. She stretched lightly, aware of the cowboy's presence nearby as he tended to their small fire. Their partnership had grown stronger since the moment he had chosen to protect her, and she felt a sense of pride in her own resilience and determination. Despite the dangers that still lay ahead, she realized that she was no longer alone. The cowboy noticed her stirring and nodded silently. There was a calmness in his demeanor that had not been there when they first met. He had made a choice, one that required courage and responsibility, and now he was learning how to live with the consequences of that decision. He looked at Naomi and saw not just a young woman seeking protection, but a capable and intelligent person who had earned his respect through her actions and honesty. As they prepared to move through the wilderness, they worked together seamlessly. Naomi gathered small supplies of food, identified safe paths, and helped the cowboy navigate through difficult terrain. The cowboy, in turn, shared his knowledge of the land, taught her strategies for avoiding hazards, and reminded her to stay alert. Each step, each careful choice, strengthened their understanding of each other and their shared ability to survive. Hours passed as they traveled, and with each passing moment, their bond deepened. Naomi spoke of her dreams, not just of survival, but of returning to her people safely, of finding a way to help others, and of living in a world where fear and danger did not dominate daily life. The cowboy listened thoughtfully, offering guidance and reflections from his own experiences. He shared lessons about patience, observation, and the importance of making choices that respected both the land and the lives of others. "You have grown stronger in these days," he said as they rested under a large oak tree, taking a brief pause from their journey. "I can see that the challenges we face together have shaped you, just as they have shaped me. You are brave, intelligent, and capable. And you have learned that trust is not given lightly, but it can be built step by step." Naomi smiled softly, feeling a warmth in her chest. "I have learned from you as well," she said. "I have learned that survival is not just about being careful or clever, but about understanding people and about making choices that matter. You trusted me, and I will honor that trust always." The cowboy nodded, feeling a quiet sense of pride and satisfaction. Their journey had tested both of them, and now he saw the fruits of their efforts. They had survived not only because of skill, but because of cooperation, respect, and courage. It was a lesson that both of them would carry forward, long after this particular chapter of their lives had ended. As the afternoon sun climbed higher, they encountered a wide river. The water flowed steadily, sparkling in the sunlight. It was both beautiful and potentially dangerous. Naomi examined the river carefully, noting shallow points, hidden rocks, and safe crossing areas. The cowboy watched her closely, impressed by her attention to detail and her ability to anticipate challenges before they became problems. "This looks safe," Naomi said finally, pointing to a narrow part of the river where the water moved gently. "We can cross here if we go carefully. Watch each step and trust your instincts." The cowboy nodded. "Good observation," he said. "Let's move slowly and make sure we stay safe. This is another example of how preparation and patience can make all the difference." They crossed the river together, each step measured and cautious. The water was cool against their legs, but it was manageable because of Naomi's guidance and the cowboy's experience. On the other side, they took a moment to rest, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Every challenge they faced together reinforced their trust and their ability to rely on each other. As they continued through the afternoon, they came across a small grove of trees that offered shelter from the sun. The cowboy suggested they set up a temporary camp, both to rest and to plan their route for the coming days. Naomi agreed, helping to gather dry leaves and branches for a small fire. They worked together efficiently, speaking quietly, their actions coordinated by mutual understanding. Sitting near the fire, they shared a simple meal, and the cowboy spoke about the future. "Our journey is far from over," he said, his voice calm but serious. "But we have learned that we can face challenges together, and that trust and careful choices make a real difference. I believe that if we continue to act with honesty and respect, we will find a way through this wilderness safely." Naomi nodded. "I feel the same," she said. "I know there will be more challenges, but I also know that we have the ability to meet them together. I have confidence in our skills, in our judgment, and in the bond we have formed. That gives me hope." The cowboy looked at her, seeing the determination and courage in her eyes. He realized that this young woman who had once been a stranger had become a true companion. She had earned his trust, not through words alone, but through action, intelligence, and honesty. And in return, he had shared his experience, guidance, and protection. Together, they had formed a partnership built on mutual respect and understanding. As evening approached, they settled near the edge of a small hill overlooking the valley below. The sunset painted the sky in shades of orange, pink, and purple, reflecting in the river that wound through the land. It was a moment of quiet beauty, a pause in the midst of a challenging journey. Naomi felt a deep sense of gratitude for this moment, for the cowboy's presence, and for the path that had led her here. "This place is remarkable," she said softly. "It reminds me that even in a world full of challenges, there is beauty and hope. It reminds me that our choices, our courage, and our trust can shape a future worth living." The cowboy nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Yes," he said. "And it reminds me that survival is not just about skill or strength, but about understanding, compassion, and connection. We have faced danger and uncertainty together, and we have learned that trust and cooperation can guide us through even the most difficult moments. As night fell, they prepared for sleep, keeping the fire small but steady. The stars appeared in the sky, scattered across the darkness like tiny points of light. Naomi looked up, feeling a sense of peace she had not felt in a long time. She knew the journey ahead would still have obstacles, but she also knew that she had a companion she could rely on, someone who valued honesty, courage, and respect as much as she did. The cowboy lay down nearby, keeping one eye on the fire and the surrounding wilderness. He felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that the choice he had made, to protect Naomi and trust her, was the right one. They had faced uncertainty, danger, and difficult decisions together, and they had grown stronger as a result. The path ahead would still require careful judgment, but he felt ready to meet it with her by his side. In the following days, their journey continued with a sense of purpose and mutual understanding. They encountered more challenges: rough terrain, unpredictable weather, and the need to find food and water. But each obstacle was met with patience, observation, and cooperation. Naomi's skills complemented the cowboys' experience, and together they navigated the wilderness with confidence. Over time, they began to talk about their hopes beyond survival. Naomi spoke of returning to her village, of helping her people, and of finding ways to live with dignity and safety. The cowboy shared stories of his travels, lessons he had learned, and his own reflections on life, trust, and responsibility. Through these conversations, they discovered a deep respect and admiration for one another, forged through shared challenges and careful choices. One evening, as they sat by a riverbank watching the reflection of the sunset in the water, the cowboy spoke softly. "I have seen many people struggle to survive, and I have seen many fail," he said. "But you have shown strength, courage, and wisdom beyond your years. You have taught me that trust and cooperation can make all the difference, and that sometimes the right choice is the hardest one to make." Naomi smiled, feeling a warmth in her heart. "And you have shown me that guidance, experience, and patience are just as important as courage," she said. "Together, we have learned that survival is more than just living. It is about understanding, making careful choices, and valuing the people around us." As the stars shone above them, both felt a sense of hope and possibility. Their journey had been difficult, and the future was still uncertain, but they had discovered something far more valuable than safety alone. They had discovered the power of trust, respect, and partnership, a foundation that would carry them through whatever challenges lay ahead. In the end, the wilderness no longer felt like a place of fear and danger. It was a place of learning, growth, and connection. Naomi and the cowboy had faced difficult choices, made sacrifices, and demonstrated courage and honesty. And through it all, they had found a way to survive together, to respect one another, and to build a bond that would endure. As they settled down for the night, the quiet of the wilderness surrounded them, filled with the sounds of flowing water and the rustle of leaves. Both felt a deep sense of accomplishment and hope. They had faced fear, uncertainty, and difficult choices, yet they had emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected. And so, as the stars sparkled in the night sky, Naomi and the cowboy rested, knowing that whatever challenges the future might hold, they would face them together, with courage, trust, and the knowledge that their choices could shape not only their own lives but the world around them. In this way, their journey came to a chapter's end, not with fear or regret, but with hope, resilience, and the quiet triumph of human connection.